Diamond Infinite Edge Pro. The Diamond Infinite Edge Pro. Diamond Infinite Edge Pro. That's right, folks. This is Sean McVeigh with Sean's Outdoor Adventures, and in this video, I'm going to do an extensive review on the Diamond Infinite Edge Pro. As you can see, this is pink camo. I bought this for my daughter who wanted a pink bow, and pink bow she got. Now, she is left eye dominant, so I bought her a left-handed bow. This will be my first time ever doing a review using a left-handed bow. This should be interesting and fun. As I can see here, there's a Peep Sight with a rubber tube inside the package, octane, quiver, and a stabilizer, and there is a bowstring on here. There is like the sort of a hostage style rest right here. There is a little lubrication on the post that the cable guard rides on, the cable slide goes on. And I'm going to be doing an extensive testing on this. I'm going to shoot the bow at every draw length setting at the peak weight to see, you know, how it performs. I'm actually going to shoot it through paper right out of the box to see how close it is to being properly tuned and see if there's any tuning that needs to take place there. It'll be interesting because I'm going to be shooting left-handed, which I've never actually done before. So hopefully I can hold the bow steady enough to do some good paper tuning. I'll also talk about later in the video how I'm giving away a brand new bow. The winner gets to pick. Originally I was going to do, you could pick a Diamond Infinite Edge Pro, a Diamond Edge SB1, or a Bear Cruiser G2, but now I've also got it set up so that you could also pick a Matthews Traverse or Matthews Vertex, which are each $1,000 bow, basically twice of what these, even more than twice of what these bows cost. So if you want to win that in December when I do the giveaway, make sure you stay tuned throughout this video to learn how to do that. For now, let's go ahead, shoot this through paper and see what happens. 30 7/8. All right, I'm getting ready to shoot through paper, but I am just making a note. The arrow rest as it is installed is actually down a little bit. It should be up to be square, and I'm not sure when they installed it. It's actually looking pretty off. The D-loop is also facing the direction away from where it should be, just out of the box. So these are just out of the box observations. I've never even drew this bow back yet. I am going to knock an arrow and just see how far off this is. Maybe adjust the vertical just to get it square before I shoot through paper. Because I'm thinking if I shoot through paper like this with it cocked down like that, I'm just going to have bad flight and the arrow's going to smash into this in a way that's not good for the rest. I'm going to just mention a couple tools that I think are helpful to have. I'll put links for them in the description if you decide you need them and want to get them. D-loop pliers are very helpful. This is a long-term investment. I've had this probably 10 years, still holding up strong. I'll probably have it the rest of my life. Something like that, maybe $20 or so for D-loop pliers. That's going to help if you ever need to manage or do any changing with that. Bowstring wax is good to have. You should wax your string regularly. I always have a silver Sharpie on hand because I mark where things go, like Peep Sight and everything. In case anything moves, you have the Sharpie mark. You could see it that it's moved. Allen wrench or hex set keys. These are very helpful for. I'm going to be using this extensively for adjusting the draw length module today. The draw length module, by the way, I'm actually going to need to put it in the bow press to access the screw that's hidden behind the limb here. So out of the box, that is one thing that if you don't have a bow press or a way to access that screw could become problematic. Anyway, there's that. And then this is ultimately what I'm going to use now. This clips onto the arrow, and then you hold this end against the string, and you basically see if the arrow is square or not. So I'm going to tilt the bow till that level is plumb there, which it is. And this, yeah, this rest is way out, so it's bent down. It needs to come up in order to bring this arrow up for it to be plumb. So I'm not even going to shoot out of the box. It's not ready to be shot. I'm going to adjust this up right now, and I'll use these to do it. In a separate video, I'll actually make a separate video on how to tune a Diamond Infinite Edge Pro. Okay, I just took some time and recorded a whole bow tuning video. So I hope you'll stay tuned and, well, tune into that. That'll be maybe my next video that I upload. This thing is shooting perfect bullet holes right now. And I'm going to shoot through the chronograph. Right now it's at 31-inch draw. So IBO ratings are off of a 30-inch draw. Let me get my release. The IBO rating for this bow, I have it written down, what was it? 310 feet per second. So this is currently at an inch longer than the IBO specification. So I would imagine this should come in over 310 feet per second. Every 1 inch of draw length that you add, you're going to add speed. At this draw length, it's typically going to be around almost 10 feet per second. See what it does. 31-inch draw, came in around 71-pound pull. .308, so it came in a little less than I would have anticipated. .308 should have been a little bit higher at 31-inch draw. Let's shoot it at the other draw lengths and see what it comes in at. 30-inch draw. 300 on the dot. Okay, here is 29-inch draw length. 287. This is at the 28-inch draw setting, so look at where the draw mod is almost touching the cable there. But if you look at this side, the cam timing definitely has gone out just from going to that draw length setting. Because the timing went out as well, it also lands shorter on the overall draw length. Should be 28 right there. 28-inch draw mod setting. 274. Right, this is at the 27-inch draw mod setting. I just had to reset the cam timing, which took me a little bit. And the draw weight dropped down to 67.5 pounds. 264. Okay, this is at the 26-inch draw setting. The peak weight measured 65 pounds. That's limb bolts maxed out. 250. 25-inch draw mod came in at 61.5 peak weight. 232. Just going to point out an observation while I'm going through the exhausting process of changing the draw mods to check every inch of draw length. But the design of this draw mod, as you can see, the screws attach it here, and there's a long distance here where there's no screw holding it tight to the cam. What I've noticed is the top cam at these lower draw lengths, since the draw mod is protruding past the cam, it doesn't have the stability of being against the cam, and if you pull a little too hard, it actually pulls the draw stop away from the cable and goes past it. Okay, so this is the 21-inch draw mod setting. Came in at 20 1/8 and 50 pounds. 175. Okay, right now I just want to talk about the draw mod setting here. This is the draw mod, and the way that it works is there are two, well, there's a longer slash and a shorter slash. This longest one, when it was lined up with this part of the cam here, was 31-inch draw. And so I imagine that the next one was a 1/2 inch increment, and then 1 full inch, 1/2 inch, full inch. I was having a very hard time seeing these little black marks while I had the bow in the bow press to adjust the draw length. So I just used a Sharpie on the 1-inch increment to light it, make it a little brighter so I could see when I was working on setting the cam in line with this. I've now reached, so it starts at the number 1 or letter S and then the number 1, and it goes up to the number 13 where there's something that you can line up with this hash mark here. And currently I am at this 13 is the 18-inch draw length setting. Now, in order to continue on, I can loosen the screws. As you see, all these little screw holes, that's so you can position this all the way back so that that first one there will line up with this line here. So these screws are way over here. But in order to keep going, I'm not going to have that reference mark anymore. I'll keep doing it, but I just wanted to stop and point this out to you, that does make it a little difficult for, when you're adjusting. You're going to have to basically start here and then carefully count the holes as you're slowly rotating this to put it at the lower draw length settings, because it does, the manual or the marketing says that it'll go all the way down to a 13-inch draw length. Alright, scratch that. I actually, after I recorded that little segment, went to move the draw mod a little bit more to a lower setting, because it says it can go down to 13-inch draw length, and I was at 17. But in order to go lower, you can only put one screw in the mod to hold it on. That's just not enough. So I'm just going to stop at 17-inch draw. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to loosen the limb bolt one turn and check the draw weight. And I'm going to track how much draw weight comes off per turn all the way down to about as low as I could possibly take it. That's going to give you an idea of what draw weight you're going to go to when you back it out. Let's say your kid is young, you want to get him this bow, or him or her this bow, and you want to set it at 35 pounds. Well, I'm going to show you how many cranks is going to get you down close to that. Keep in mind this, do one full turn and then do one full turn on the other limb. Don't just crank it all the way down. That's not good for the bow. Another thing I did is I took a straight edge and I laid it over the limb bolt here, and I took a silver sharpie and I put a dot at the top and a dot right here below it on the limb bolt, and I'm going to line those up each time to try to get as precise as I can each time I come around. If you're not precise when you come around, you're going to throw off your tiller measurement, the distance between here and the string, because even a little bit of the loosening the bolt is going to lower the cam, and it's going to push the string farther away from here. And if one is more than the other, it just throws off your tuning. So let me go ahead and start turning the limb bolts and checking the weights. Okay, although I didn't show you, I just checked this at every turn all the way out to 12 limb bolt turns. That brought me down to 34.6 pounds after 12 turns on each. However, I want to go over to the computer now and show you the data. Now what this will be able to enable you to do is you'll see how many pounds came off per turn. Keep in mind that this is at 30-inch draw length setting. Now the peak weight at 30 inches was, let me see here, 71 pounds. When you lower the draw length, it lowers the peak weight. If you look at the data I have, let's say you're going to shoot at 26-inch draw length, the absolute peak weight at 26-inch draw length was 65 pounds. So that you're not subtracting off of 70, you're starting at 65. If you're at 26-inch draw length, peak weight was 65. Every time you do a turn, you're subtracting off of 65, not off of 70. You'll be able to go see that data. Let's go take a look. Normally, I take 3 shots through the chronograph and then get an average. That just gives you the most accurate data. In this situation, I was shooting the bow at peak weight, 70 pounds, and I've never shot left-handed before, and I didn't want to do that, but I had to because of the nature of the situation in order to get comparable data. And my encouragement to you is this: if you're getting into archery or it's your first nice bow, don't make the mistake I did and see if you can pull it at peak weight. Start low. When I was a kid, I bought my first nice compound. It was 55 to 70 pound pull, and I was planning to shoot it at 55, but I just wanted to see if I could pull it at 70. And I pulled it at 70. I just heard a terrible tearing noise in my shoulder as I pulled it back. And I've had a cartilage tear ever since. I've never had surgery on it. Probably could have had surgery on it at some point, but now I live with that injury, and maybe someday it's going to cause me to have to give up archery, at least shooting right-handed. So I didn't want to injure my left arm, so I didn't want to shoot any more than I absolutely had to. So that's why in the data here, I only have 1 shot per each, draw length. So let's take a look at the data. Manufacturer's specs, it's supposed to go 13 to 30 inch draw. When I got to about the 18 inch draw length, that's why I have it in brackets there, I didn't really feel comfortable moving those modules to go lower than that. And you'll see it's 5 to 70 pounds. Now, when it's set at the max weight of 70 pounds, you're not going to be able to crank it all the way down to 5 pounds. In fact, when I was at 18 inch draw length, the peak weight was at 48 pounds. Once you get down into those lower weights, that's when you'll be able to back it all the way down to 30. And I'm going to show you in a second here what ratings I got for as far as how many pounds we took off per limb bolt turn. I'm going to create a web page that's going to record all this data, and you can download it from there, copy the image, save it if you want. But as on this chart, the peak weight came in at 71.5, 71.6 pounds at the 31 inch draw length. The actual draw length measured 31 1/8 as opposed to the manufacturer's 31, but you know, 1/8 of an inch is pretty close. Our speed came in at 308 feet per second. That's close to the manufacturer's rating of 310. However, Ibo ratings are set at 30 inch draw, 70 pounds, and that's at 31 inch draw. So when we look down at the next line at 30 inch draw, that's where we should expect to see 310 feet per second. And in fact, we came in at 300 feet per second. And that's even with the draw weight being a little bit above 70. So this bow performed a little slower than advertised. At 29 inch draw length, it measured 29 1/8, came in at 287. And you can see down here what speeds we got at each draw length. And on the left, you can see where the peak weight, the limb bolts were tightened in as far as they could go. And in that draw length setting, that was the peak weight. So if you look down at the bottom, where we were around the 18 inch draw length setting, the absolute maximum weight you can get out of the bow at that time is 48 pounds. Now I want to show you this one other chart that I have here. That is the weight, and then if you look down the column on the left, that's one complete limb bolt. And where does that land the draw weight after one full turn? It started off at 71.2 when I went to do this test, and then it dropped it to 67.9. And then taking off another limb bolt turn, it brought it down to 64.3. And I took it all the way down to 12 full limb bolt turns out. And I didn't really feel comfortable going any farther out at the 30 inch draw length setting, and it was measuring at 34.6 pounds. Now, in order to get that 5 pounds, like I talked about before, I would have to take it off of the 30 inch draw length setting and drop it down to a shorter draw length setting, and that is when you're going to be able to get as low as 5 pounds. But 5 pounds is pretty light. Somebody who's strong enough to hold the bow up, which weighs, you know, 3-4 pounds, you know, once you get all the accessories and the arrows and the quiver, now you're up at 5 pounds anyway. So someone who's strong enough to hold that bow up in the air to draw it back is going to be able to draw more than 5 pounds. All right, this is one thing I wanted to mention, and then I'll turn this into, I'll go over my final observations. And this is, I guess, the start of the observations, but the limb bolts, they are tightened in as far as they can possibly go. And there is a gap. I mean, it might even be close to about 1/8 of an inch gap there where it does not come in contact with the riser. I've never actually had a bow that when the limb bolts are bottomed out, the limbs are not in touch with the riser. This to me was a little bit awkward because I couldn't tell, you know, if I was equal on both ends. I mean, I cranked them both as far as they could go, but it's like, well, you know, should it go in a little bit more? What's the deal here? So I found that a little bit awkward. So with that information, let's move into the rest of my observations for this bow. One nice thing is it's a complete package. We've got everything we need here. All you got to do now is buy arrows and a release, and which I did buy for my daughter, so she'll be in good shape. It has a quiver on here. I've used this type of octane quiver, this exact model, for many years. It's nice and light. Has 2 capture points for holding the arrow. It does have a foam inside the head, so if you're using expandable broadheads, you'll want to use a knife or something to cut the foam. so that the blades can get up in there without the thing expanding on you. If you don't do that in advance and you go to push an expandable broadhead in there, it's going to end up expanding. Could break your O-ring and you'll have to replace those. So anyway, just be mindful of that. It is adjustable. You can slide it up and down as far as where it's set. And then you just tighten these screws down when you get it the height you want. I just have it pushed up for now. This is a hostage arrow rest. They're nice and basic. You can adjust height and left and right, which is nice. However, it is all plastic, so it doesn't have the durability of aluminum. So it's a decent rest to get you going, but maybe in the long run you're going to end up needing to upgrade that. There is a sight on here, a 3-pin sight with a level in it, which is both great. It's all plastic, and the adjustments are not easy to make. It's all Allen wrench, hex type key screws. And so to move them, if you need to move your pin just a little bit, let's say you're sighting in your 40-yard pin, you're getting close, and you loosen it, and it's just not moving, and you're trying to nudge it, and all of a sudden it goes real far, well, you're back to square one and starting all over. I've done that for many years. And so these types of rests, you can sight them in, it just takes a little extra work. One thing I didn't like, this is the left-handed model, so this will be something to note for you left-handers out there. They actually use the same bracket that you do for a right-hander, which makes it upside down in the left-handed position. The drawback to that is if you're walking through the woods and you bump something, it's coming right off. So I'm going to actually experiment with flipping it so that this vertical slot is facing up. Otherwise, like I just showed you, a little bump is going to take that right off and it's going to fall to the ground. That can get very annoying. You could be pulling your bow up into a tree for a hunting situation and the quiver bumps something and off it goes, which is not good. I had a challenge with adjusting the draw length. In many of your prime draw length settings, you actually need to put the bow in a bow press just to be able to change it. That took me, I probably spent 5 hours doing the speed section of this video just because it took so long each time to put it in the bow press, change it. There was a couple times I couldn't see the hash marks well enough. I thought I had it right, tightened all the screws up, took it off the bow press, put it on the draw board, and that's when I found out that I missed it by a half of a click. So I had to go back, put it in the bow press, go all over again. It was difficult. So if you're a parent and this is going to be for your teenager or your child, and you're only going to have to change the draw length once in a while. However, for a lot of the draw lengths, you're going to need a bow press, and that's another expense. It does come with a Peep Sight, and it's a tube style. Watch my Bear Cruiser G2 review video because I talk a lot about that style of Peep Sight in that one. So they work pretty well. However, it's not installed, and they don't even give you a little string in the bowstring itself that makes it easy to split the strands. So no matter what, you're gonna need a bow press to split the strands. Don't try to shove something through there. You'll ruin strands and potentially break your string. It's not a good idea. You definitely need a bow press. You need to press this so that it takes the tension off of this string to insert the Peep Sight. So for a lot of people, if you get this bow right out of the package, you can't just set it all up and shoot it unless you have a bow press. You're going to need a bow press for that and many of the draw length settings. Another thing that I thought was a little bit of a drawback is the module for changing the draw length is plastic, and it just has numbers on it. So it's numbered 1 to 13. Well, what is that? What's 1? What's 13? One other thing that was a little bit of a challenge as I did this is, and I verified that I was on the correct marks for each draw length, but the bow kept going out of cam timing. So there were multiple times where I had to reset the cam timing in the process. And that got to be, it just added to the length of it. So if you're changing draw length, even if you're changing it 1/2 of an inch, you might throw off the timing. Again, you're going to need a bow press to add or remove a twist or 1/2 a twist from a cable in order to get the timing back in. One last thing that I will say that I do like about the bow is that it has a double yoke system. That makes it easy to adjust for cam lean and tuning. It didn't take me long to get this thing shooting a bullet hole, which was really nice. So in my next video, I'm going to do a short tuning video on this, how I tune this up. For those of you who have one of these and would like a few tips on getting it tuned up. So that'll be the next video. And then after that, I'm going to compare this to the Diamond Edge SB1, which I have sitting right over here. I'm going to compare these two bows because I get that question all the time. Like, what's the difference, Sean? So I'm going to give you a comparison video comparing the two. And after that, I'm going to announce what I think is the best compound bow for beginners. So I hope you'll stay tuned for those. Don't forget to write the scripture verse down for this video and keep track of it so that you can get in for winning the free compound bow, tree stand, and Sharple broadhead sharpener that I'll be giving away in December. Until then, take care and God bless.